part. I got to go in tonight.
Oh, jeez, again?
Yeah. It's all right. The checks don't bounce.
Hi, it's Ella.
Good evening, how are you?
Hi, Ella.
Good evening. How's everyone doing?
Good, thank you. Hope you're well. All right, let's begin.
Okay, we're going to start with the city clerk. That's on page 65. That's on page 65. And the budget reflects really no substantive changes from previous years. There was a reduction in the fringe benefits, but that's the OPEB reduction mostly, and that is the major reduction in the budget. Other than that, we made some adjustments for office furniture and maintenance, equipment maintenance, but this is pretty much a status quo budget. I'll defer to Betsy to give a presentation if she wants. If not, we'll go into questions and answers. Betsy?
Betsy, floor is yours, if you wish.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Put that mic a little closer.
Good evening, everyone.
Still all the way close.
Good evening, everyone.
There we go.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Is it on?
Yes, yes, I
Yeah, it
think.
is, okay. Good. Go ahead.
Do you all have questions for me first? And maybe I can address them? Maybe I can address them?
I'm
Members?
just reading your letter here.
We have your letter.
Okay, thank
Yep.
you.
Yes, Alderman Wilson.
Would you like to elaborate on the content or of your letter a little for us, for the public, for them?
Okay, so the letter just explains that the city and town clerk's office is complex and multifaceted, and we have a lot of duties to perform. And I'm also not just the city and town clerk, I'm the clerk to the council also. So I do your minutes and agendas and any meetings that you have and take care of those duties also. So doing two jobs in one, that's a big different thing where I wear two hats. I also have been a clerk for 28 years. I have my master's in town clerk. And because this position is so complex, Norwich really needs to protect the integrity of this office and with good experience. So by investing and providing a position of competitive and a good salary, that's what we would be doing here. So Norwich can be proud of the integrity and longevity of past clerks in the city. So that's about what that says.
Yes, Alderman Wilson, you still have the floor.
So kind of just a follow-up, would you be in agreement with the proposed increase in salary for the position?
Yes, I think that's fair.
Excuse me.
Okay.
Mayor.
Please, Pro Tem Mark.
I just, isn't the purpose of your letter to me was a little vague. I wasn't sure if you were petitioning for a larger increase or for trying to justify the increase that's in your salary now in the manager's budget. Or both.
Well, I did ask for more than that,
Yeah, I noticed that.
but I
yeah.
think we came to an equitable agreement.
Okay. Okay, it is a larger increase than you've had in the past several years, but it's not an excessive one, I don't think, so. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other members have questions? Yes, Alderman Nash.
Maybe the city manager can answer it better, I'm not sure. I saw that you increased the requested $8,815 that was for furniture and equipment to $15,000, but you reduced her professional services by $7,000. Is there, I'm assuming as a clerk, those professional services are vitally important to your department. So I was just wondering if you could explain the difference there.
I believe it was a classification.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was where the software costs were classified.
Gotcha, okay.
Yeah.
That's all, thank you.
Other questions, other members? Yes, Alderman Wilson again.
Not so much a question, but I think just understanding, thank you for the work that you do for the city. I know it's going in there quite often. It's very, very busy, and every single person that's working in there never really has a downtime to do anything. And I think your budget, it's fair for what you have, and I think the product of work that you put out, as well as your other staff members, reflects it. So, thank you.
Well, thank you.
One more.
Yes, Alderman Bettencourt.
I would like to say that I'd seen, because I do visit you on a fairly regular basis, even when I haven't been on the council for whatever reason, that I have to compliment you and your staff and the type of work and the quality of the work you do and the customer service you provide for the citizens. Because at least from my point of view, I know you know me and all, but from what I've seen anyway, secondhand, you provide the same service to everybody else also. So I just, you, Roseanne, and the rest of the staff, I certainly want to compliment and thank you for the effort you all put in.
Thank you. I do appreciate that, and I do want to thank my assistant, Roseanne Muscarella. She is a very hard worker, very dedicated to the city. She deserves a lot of credit for this office being run the way it's run also. It's nice to have another part of the team, the other team members that are on it, that also have dedication to the office, but Roseanne goes above beyond her job duties.
Other members? Yes, Alderman DeLucia.
First, I would like to thank you for all the work that you do, especially for the work that you do for us, and you've always been very helpful to me personally as we put paperwork through and so on and so forth, and you catch little minor mistakes before they become big mistakes and bigger problems, and I very much appreciate that.
Thank you.
Also, to echo what Alderman Bettencourt mentioned, your department from beginning to end serves that customer service mentality for everybody that walks in there, and not just us, but I've been in there and just heard the conversations going on. And you guys are always very professional and very helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome. It's deserved. The only question I have is that at one point you were sharing a person between the clerk's office at what is busy time and the comptroller's office, right?
Tax collector's office.
Tax collector. Is that still happening? Is there still a shared person there?
Yes, there is still a shared person.
How's that working out?
Well, it would be nice if we had a full-time person, but we didn't ask for that because of the times and the city and the budget money and funding. It's working okay. The tax collector and I get together and we put a schedule together, and there was an email this afternoon, well, when I came in now at about 5:30, she said, something's going on, can I have the shared person tomorrow? I said, sure, but, we try to trade off. When she needs her, I try to give her on my time. So it seems to be working okay. We definitely could use another person in the office.
Is that
Full-time.
because the tax collector's office busy time and the city clerk's quote unquote busy time? Because I don't think that I think it's rare that there isn't a busy time in the clerk's office, but those busy times are starting to overlap more and more.
They are. Dog licensing time is the month of June. Now we have an election in June. Tax collector season is July, so I have to give the shared person back like the last week of June, which is our busy time for dog licensing, and now we have the election. And then we'll have an election in August this year, and she'll be still down the tax collector's office in August, so I'll be short again in August. Same thing happens in December, January, and February. But that's the way it's working right now.
Okay. I just off the top of my head, maybe we need to change who that person is shared with, and maybe rearrange some of the assignments so that maybe you're sharing a person with a department that doesn't overlap with your busy time as much.
That's true, but remember, my office has, it's really not like any other office, and I just don't mean to be looking at Joe, trying to look at all of you. My office has at least 150 different things we do, and it's hard to train somebody all the time, and a different person to just come in and say, okay, now we're on elections, now we're on deaths, now we're doing fishing licenses, now we're doing dog licenses, now we're taking acknowledgements of interment, now we're doing claims, now the marshal's coming in, now you have to learn. It's not just one job in my office. And they have to be like just doing the posting of the minutes and the agenda. One person could work on this a half a day, every day, to get them done and get them done correctly. It's not just taking them and putting them on the website. It's a whole bunch of other things, like you said. We have to review it, make sure the dates are right, make sure the title is right, make sure other things don't fall through the cracks, make sure it's posted to the right meeting, make sure we get minutes back for that meeting. So if we get somebody, we'd like somebody constant so we don't have to keep training. Give me 1 minute. How many different people have we had in our office? 40? We've had 45 different people in our office since 2012. Training, trying to learn the job, helping out, and it takes us more time to train them.
There you go.
And then they leave.
I have the same problem right now myself. I'm just,
And then they
we're
leave,
constantly training.
or they were only temporary, or we could only have a part-time, or we could only have a seasonal. And we strained ourselves to try to get them up to speed. And then, sorry, your seasonal time is up, or I don't want to work here, it's too much work to do. Because we don't have downtime. We're busy kind of all the time. I think we had 247 transactions in since the first of the month. So there was 5 days in the first week, 4 is 9, 10. In 13 days, we had 247 transactions with 3 of us, or 2 of us working, 2 of my other people working at home. So even with the virus, it's still constant.
Thank you.
Hope that answers it.
Yes, you did very much. You're very well. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You're welcome. The members, if not, I'd just like to know how, with a pleasure. I'm sorry, the hand went up.
Well, I was late, I'm late in the game here. So I just want to echo the sentiments that you've heard tonight about how hardworking your department is, how professional your department is. I don't think I have to blow your horn or pat you on the back, as I tell you constantly how much I appreciate it. Whether you're doing council business or I'm coming in looking through the old books to find out my family's history from the beginning of time. Yes, the ladies in this department do work very hard, and we appreciate all of your hard work. We really do.
Thank you. They do make me look good, and I appreciate it. I appreciate every one of them. Thank you.
Other members? I'll just add, the success of this office is directly tied to you. Yes, it is. One of the things that I enjoyed the most was being part of the council who hired you and put you here in the city clerk's position. And I have always never regretted that, ever. And I don't think anyone else will as well. You're a mentor to everyone on your staff, and that is so important because it helps them too. So thank you for all that you do.
Thank you. I appreciate everyone.
Everyone, okay, we're all set. Thank you
all.
very much for being here.
Thank you, Betsy.
Thank you all. Very nice words.
Okay, the next budget is elections. That's on page 70.
Another easy one.
Okay, elections budget reflects more activity this year because of presidential primaries and a presidential election. There are more employees, part-time employees, and ballots and whatnot. So that's reflected in the budget proposal, and that's why it differs somewhat, a little more of an increase to reflect the larger amount of voting procedures that they have this year. And with that, I'll turn it over to the registrars for any other comments and take questions.
Okay. Just, if you don't mind, can I make just one statement before we go to ours? I'm assuming, I didn't see the city clerk's budget, but I'm assuming that there's a raise in there for Roseanne. Is that correct?
Yes.
She does a fantastic job with the absentee ballots when we're dealing with absentee ballots. And it's complicated, it's frustrating, and I just have to say, I don't think without Betsy and Roseanne that we would have the smooth elections that we have, because they both really know what they're doing. Quite frankly, once in a while, Betsy drives me crazy because she's a control freak, but we get along and we get it done. They both, we really couldn't do without them. They're just amazing. So
I will second every part of that except the control freak comment, because I happen to be one of those, so control freaks unite.
Yeah, we all are. Okay, so this is a particularly trying year for all registrars under normal circumstances, because we would normally have an April primary, an August primary, and a November election. And 4 years ago, when we had a presidential year, we were registering as many people in 1 month as we did in a year. That's not happening right now because DMV is closed. When they open, it's going to be a nightmare, because we're going to be so inundated with what's happening. There's a little bit more money in here for part-time workers. We will need our deputies in that office a lot once we can actually start working again. Fortunately, the governor did declare election officials to be essential workers. So most of us can work in City Hall. There are actually some registrars who are not allowed into their City Hall, which is, I can't even know how they do their job. The Secretary of State right now is so ambivalent about what's going on. We really are not getting any direction other than suggestions on how to do cleaning during an election, but we can't get the goods that we need to do it. So I don't know how that's going to happen. Plus, if we do have to do that, if we have to be cleaning every booth and every pen and every other surface between every voter, we're going to have at least one full-time worker in each one of those polls. We don't even know, Election Day registration is only in November. Hopefully this will be over by then. If it's not, I can't even imagine how we can do social distancing. We had over 500 people register on election day, last presidential election. They would be all the way down Broadway. It's crazy what we're going to have to deal with. So under normal circumstances, we need extra workers for elections because we have extra checkers at the bigger precincts and ballot clerks. So our budget's not big. It's not huge compared to what it was this past year. But everything in our budget is something we need. We don't ever pad our budget. And we frequently end up with a surplus. And the way it looks right now, we are going to have a surplus this year of about $5,000. So we had a surplus last year, which we gave back because we had asked for equipment, and our purchasing agent, the city purchasing agent, did a fantastic job, and he saved us literally thousands of dollars on our new filing cabinets. So that was given back to the budget. So as I've said before, I mean, you all know, I've said it before, we have the smallest budget in the city. It's only like 0.5% of the entire city budget. And we're not asking for a lot of money. I believe there is a 3%, we've asked for a 3% raise for ourselves. We can only get a raise every 2 years, so we don't think that's unreasonable. We are both running again in November. We both hope to be registrars again in January. But if we're not, this would go to whomever would replace us, although we are both running. Everything else is pretty much just a function of what we have to do. Printing is very expensive because we have to print ballots. If we have a double primary, we need to print 2 different ballots. We also have, for the election coming up, we have 3 different ballot types. So we're basically printing 3 different ballots for each of the primaries, each of the 2 primaries, and the general election. So that's where the increase in the printing comes from. There's an increase in postage because of the amount of registrations that come through motor vehicles every day. We have, on a normal week, we have maybe about 100 between people moving in and people moving out. And letters have to go out for all of that. So postage is not, it's not cheap. And it has to be sent first class. Another thing is, we don't know. Right now, the primary is scheduled for June 2nd. But it's possible they will push it farther. If that happens, it will go into this budget, not the current budget. Secretary of State does have money to pay for things that we may have additionally. Josh has asked us to keep track of that. Secretary of State has asked us to keep track of that so that that can be submitted to them, hopefully for repayment at some point. But I'm sure it's still going to have to come from us in advance. Right now, there are a couple of polling locations we may not be able to use. If we can't use those, we have to notify every one of those voters that it has changed, every one of the voters in those precincts that they have changed, and it's only temporarily for that one, so then we may have to remind them that they're voting at their regular polling place in November.
And there goes our postal budget.
Yeah, the postal budget is it's just unbelievable. So again, I think that this is a very reasonable budget for what we deal with. Again, we never pad our budget, and I think you know that by now from as long as we've all been here, one way or another. So we're pretty happy with the numbers that Josh and city manager came up with, and I'm hoping they will work. I'm hoping we don't have to have more than what we're projecting, but that may happen depending on what goes on.
The other registrar, would you like to share?
Just something else I'd like to mention is that we had to cancel our regularly scheduled training day for our employees. We normally have it here in City Hall. It takes about a half a day. We bring everybody in, let them know what their assignments are. And for a lot of them, because they're returning workers, refresh their rules and regulations and what their job duties are. I have heard from some of our election workers that they're afraid to work the election this year because they're in that compromised population, either by age or health status. And so we might also be looking at finding and training new people, depending on what staffing level we have to deal with. And we're going to have that training somewhere. Hopefully, everything will be resolved, that this illness that we're all dealing with will be resolved and taken care of, and we'll be able to get back to a somewhat normal mode of operation. But right now, because still so much is up in the air, we really can't make plans. And both of us are planners. And this part of doing our job is absolutely, positively driving us crazy because we just don't know. And we get calls from citizens that want to know what's going on, and we really don't have a lot to tell them. So I just want to say to everyone who has called with a question, thank you for your understanding. Bear with us. We will notify you as soon as we know for sure and for certain what's going to happen. We are committed to doing our jobs and doing them well to make sure that our elections go off without a hitch. And as soon as we know something, we will let you all know.
Thank you. Members, Alderman DeLucia, you had your hand earlier.
Yeah, thank you. So I have a couple of thoughts. The first one is that we use the schools, a number of schools for most of our polling places. So being a spatial relations kind of guy, I would encourage you to think about how the layout might have to change in order to accommodate some of the social distancing, because I don't think the social distancing piece is going to go away even when some of the executive orders are lifted. I think it's going to be part of our new normal, that we won't be standing in line, a foot away from each other waiting to get to that table to check in. So we might have to completely change the routes on how people enter the building, how people leave the building, how they queue up in line, and all of those things. And I think now is the time that we want to think about each site and say, for all the things that we need to consider, and now this new thing that we have to consider, maybe we have to change the layout. The other thing, and this is really more for the city manager, I would suggest that we start talking with the superintendent of schools to say, okay, if school is open and in session and we have an election on Tuesday the 3rd, maybe the kids have to stay home on Wednesday the 4th as well. Yeah, so they have enough time to clean the polling place before we let the kids back in.
The governor has already addressed that.
Yeah, so I know I'm not the first person to think of a lot of these things, but,
As far as the primaries go, we have approximately 10,000 people eligible to vote in the primaries, Democrat and Republican. Unaffiliated, as most of you know, are not allowed to vote in the primaries. So already we're reduced by over 50%. Also, for primaries, for a general election, we are required by law to have one voting booth per 200 voters. For a primary, we can have one voting booth per 500 voters. So that will help a lot with having less voters and having to have less booths. We don't expect, I honestly don't expect if we have a primary to have long lines. The last time we had a Republican presidential primary, under the same circumstances that we have now, where it it was already predetermined. We only had 9% turnout. 9% was less than 300 voters. And by not letting us consolidate all of the precincts, it makes it pretty frustrating for us.
I can understand that. But I would say, and I know that, and first of all, I'm certainly not going to tell you your business. Right? Secondly, I know that you're thinking about them in order. You've got one coming in June, right? You're thinking about how is that going to happen, right? Then another one in August, right? Where the one in June, maybe the kids will be back by then, maybe not. August, definitely not, right? But then in November, well, who knows? Because if this virus comes back around for a second bite of the apple next fall, we could be doing all of this all over again. But my suggestion would be, considering the fact that November is going to be a presidential election, all right, and I would imagine that we're going to have a decent turnout,
Last time was
okay?
72%.
If we plan for that one and then just retrofit it to the two primaries, then we really shouldn't have anything unforeseen happen.
Doesn't work that way. But
Well,
I
everything's going to
understand
have
what
to,
you're trying to tell us.
well, we're going to have to figure out how everything works in a new way.
Well,
because-
we will, don't
right,
worry.
so,
Don't worry.
But yeah, so I would just encourage you for that. My last question, again, is for the city manager. If the state's got saying that they're putting money aside in the Secretary of State's office to cover additional expenses because of the coronavirus. So I'm sure that would be some sort of reimbursement. But in the meantime, we're still going to have to pay the bills. So will we have wiggle room? In order to cover those expenses until the reimbursement comes in?
Yes, any expense that's attributable to extra provisions for the election, we will cover that and budget for it separately as a causal from the virus. So we'll budget that separately, but we'll have it, yeah.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Alderwoman Gould.
Just one question. With the new social distancing being the new norm, I would expect that you might have more absentee ballots this year than people actually wanting to go to the polls and stand in that line. You may have more people who are requesting absentee ballots so that they don't have to go to the polls. So are you gearing up for that possibility? I think older people especially are not going to want to go out.
Well, the Secretary of State's office, in conjunction with the Registrars of Voters Association, Town Clerks Association, and the Governor's office, are putting together a guideline book for what they want us to do. And some of those guidelines suggest a whole bunch of new things that would be included as illness, because there are very limited reasons why you can get an absentee ballot in Connecticut. One of those things, which I personally found very amusing, was that an illness is considered being over 65. There are plenty of us that are over 65 that we're not ill, but, that is one of those things. So that would address the elderly if it's approved by the Secretary of State, by the Governor. We're still all hoping, it's still all in the air of whether or not we're actually going to have a primary.
Right, no, I understand that.
So I think every registrar in the state is hoping beyond hope that we will not have primaries, because this is so complicated. And the most complicated part of it is that we can't get the sanitary products that we need.
Alderman Wilson.
So first, I want to thank both of you for all the hard work you do. I understand the stress, the confusion that you deal with, having to be in the conversations myself. One of the things that I asked the question of a lot is knowing the uncertainties of this beyond just even the primary situation, with possible and in the terms that you're saying of other ways of making this election happen. So, I know that the things like mail-in, ballots, all those other things on the table, depending on what happens if we have a fall reemergence of this virus. With your budget, I know we've already talked about the Secretary of State and the city managers saying that those provisions would be covered and budgeted differently. Are there things that you are concerned about beyond just the primary and the regular election happening of absorbent costs for mailing and different things of that sort?
If more people do absentee, I mean, the Secretary of State is pushing really hard for no excuse absentee and early voting. That would be way more costly than the way we do things now. Mailing, it's because of the way absentees are done in this state. You have to get an application, you have to mail it back, the city clerk has all kinds of stuff they have to do, then they mail it out when it's printed, then they have to process it when it comes back. It's very complicated.
Yep.
And with current staffing on both offices, it's not gonna go well.
And the reason I want to bring that up is because, like we are doing with many other departments, this is probably one of the most critical, years with, you said the last presidential election was around 72% voter turnout. And when you look at it, if we do end up in that situation, you could be talking a larger percentage of turnout just off the fact that it's a little bit easier for an individual to access the ballot and return all those things.
None of those things, no excuse absentee and early voting, that can't happen without a constitutional amendment. And that will take at least 2 years to go through the legislature.
2/3 vote both chambers.
If it's approved by the general public.
Okay.
So it's not something that, the governor cannot override the Constitution of the state. He can override statutes, but not the Constitution.
So even with the additional possible absentees, you could see an uptick in participation and with the
It could be
two.
very large because we can have plenty of people say they're sick.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we don't have any way to check that.
Yep.
So, if they say they're sick, they're sick. Or, for instance, they're over 65, which kind of makes sense anyway, under the circumstances. Plus, we have a lot of people that, older people that do like to go to the polls and vote, but they have a hard time standing in those long lines that we have on election day, which are completely unavoidable. As often as people yell at the registrars, we do everything we can not to have those long lines, but they're still unavoidable. When you've got 6,000 people voting in one precinct, we actually have 3 precincts that have between 5,000 and 6,000. There's going to be lines.
Now, getting to the precincts or the polling places, are there any considerations of any of the current ones having to be switched based off of what we're in right now?
Right now, yes. 3 of our polling locations are not schools.
Okay.
Superintendent of schools the new superintendent has been wonderful with trying to work with us. We have a church,
Correct.
a senior center, and a senior housing unit. Senior housing has already told us that we cannot have the primary there. Last time I spoke with the church, they said it was okay because we assured them that it would be sanitized when we're done. And the senior center is currently closed, so that wouldn't be an issue for voting either.
Okay.
And the city, since the city owns the senior center, the city can get it sanitized, which is great.
Okay. Just wanted to bring those things up. Thank you.
Other members? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks, for your time.
The next budget is city managers. That's on page 53.
Trying to steal our supplies?
I could use them downstairs.
This budget is pretty straightforward. There are two employees, myself and the executive assistant. We also budget in this budget the dues for the Connecticut Conference of Municipalities. Fortunately, that's been the same amount for the last 7 years, so we haven't increased that. That's the bottom line item, the $25,800. I'd be glad to answer any questions that you have.
Members, questions of the city manager?
Well, I talked to him enough.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah. Easy night tonight, I guess. I'll stay for the rest of it. Thank you very much, both of
Okay.
you, all you do.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure serving
I'll
the
ask him
city.
later.
Page 51 is the mayor/city council. This budget has the mayor's and the city council stipend. The largest amount in this budget is budgeted in the city council budget, and that's our contribution to the NCDC. That's the $150,000. We've been at that level since 2018-19. The other item that's continuing is the multicultural development program. That's in conjunction with the downtown. That's $25,000. That leverages the money that's in the downtown civic association events. Last year there was about 6. This year I think there's 1 canceled, so we'll see what happens with those in the future. We also budget some of the small commissions here, Harbor, Ethics, Historian. Then we did put money in the budget for the school building committee. It's mostly for clerical to take minutes and whatever, and we know that that will be an active committee in the coming fiscal year. So that's actually the biggest change in this budget. So we'll take any questions.
Yes, Alderman DeLucia.
Mr. Solomon, that last item, the school building committee line item, that's the one question that I have. When I saw that number, I was a little concerned that it may not be enough. I understand what you're saying about $5,000 to cover the cost of a recording secretary and maybe filing some documents and maybe some postage and so on and so forth. But as the school facilities review committee started to conclude its work, we felt that we were pretty close to the point where we would need to involve an architect, or at least somebody with some design expertise, experience, and education, which it would is obviously going to be professional services that we would have to pay for. I don't know how Alderman Bettencourt feels about it, but I think that within this fiscal year, we should plan on hiring a professional to come in and give the committee, I should say, some guidance and maybe some design ideas or whatever the case may be. I wouldn't want to see this project or the potential for this project sit on the back burner, for an entire fiscal year.
Oh, if I may.
I'm done.
Sure.
I'm saying yes, I'm done.
Okay, if I may. It's a little soon. I think the committee itself will have to make that kind of decision. I'm thinking there's going to be 1 or 2 RFPs involved for the committee. So either depending on the committee's desire and budget and discussion with the city manager. So, but I don't know if, John, if you had planned on that kind of, some kind of additional expense as we go on, or not, and if you have that someplace else maybe? Or,
Well,
I know we move money around all the time,
Yeah.
I mean, that's, a matter of fact, but so I just don't want to gloss over this and say, okay, we didn't say anything about this, so I don't want you to feel like you're blindsided or something like that.
We would set up a separate line item for this budget. Some of these costs could be capitalized and ultimately be recovered by the bond issue. So we'll keep, if we have to hire
Correct, yeah.
an architect for conceptual drawings, ultimately that cost could be allocated to the capital budget rather than here. We're just covering administrative items here. So it would be more appropriate to add it to the capital budget if we see fit. And we can make an estimate on that. I don't know, we could put 50,000 in the capital budget, but that's where I would recommend it goes for now, rather than here.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Alderman Wilson.
Well, and actually, it was just piggybacking off of what he said. I think, that may be a better way to go about it. I know when they did the last committee for the police station, when we got to that point of needing the assistance, they came back to the council, of course, and the RFP and all of those things. So I could completely understand putting it there. That way, it's a better fit than this, and we're worried more just about the administrative costs in this budget.
Thank you. Other questions of? Okay.
Okay, thank you. The next budget is Human Resources, page 63. Bridget has silently slipped into the seat. This budget represents the Human Resource Department. There is no major differences in the budget for this year rather than last year. The staffing remains the same that it has been in the previous years, and it's pretty much a status quo budget. I'll defer to Bridget for any other comments, and then we can take questions.
Just to generalize, the lower bottom line from what was requested, a portion of that is the lower OPEB contributions, and that's consistent across all departments,
Yes.
correct?
You'll see that in every
Yeah.
department.
I just wanted to get that out there.
Yes.
If anybody's watching, that reflects some of those issues for decreasing costs.
Yes.
Yep, thank you. Alderman Delusha.
Thank you. Hi, good to see you again. Thank you for coming in. This was a hot button topic the other night, so I want to ask you directly. Could your office, as it stands right now, absorb the HR needs of the Board of Education?
As it stands right now?
Yeah.
Probably not. There's a lot of parts to human resources, so it depends which parts you're talking about. There's recruitment, there's benefits, there's workers' comp.
Bridget, put the
Microphone, please, a little closer.
Yeah.
Closer to you.
So there's many parts within human resources. We already do the pension for the Board of Ed, except for the teachers, so we do all non-teacher pensions. I know there was some talk about doing the workers' comp and the benefits piece at one time, recently. So I think that if we had absorbed one person from the Board of Ed, we would be able to do that.
So on that point, so the superintendent, I guess with the board's blessing, has hired an HR director. at $87,000 or $85,000 plus fringes. I guess the direct question I'm asking you is that whatever that person's job description would be, whatever hiring and all the facets as best you know them that involve hiring in an educational organization, could we augment your staff and not spend as much money and have your department perform all those functions?
Probably not without at least an additional person.
Certainly, but not a management level person, would you say? Or is that unfair?
It's kind of unfair,
Okay.
actually. I don't know what the HR director is going to be doing. I know that there's another person there, the business manager, I think, that does a lot of the performance issues.
You mean like
So,
evaluation stuff?
evaluations, and there's many performance issues
Mhm.
that HR deals with. So I don't know exactly what the breakup is. I would have to look at that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You're welcome. Other members, questions? Yes, Alderwoman Gould.
Just as a follow-up, thank you for being here tonight, by the way. So you handle the pensions for all non-teachers? So,
Correct.
okay, so that's approximately how many employees? Is that 200, that's 500?
Probably 4 to 5, I would say.
400 to 500? Okay.
Thank you. Other questions? Yes, Alderman Wilson.
Just out of curiosity, the function out of your office, whose job is it to work with recruitment? This is kind of like a piggyback from their question. In your office, which job would be dealing with more of the recruitment effort of jobs?
That would be the assistant director and the HR assistant.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bridget.
Would you sanitize it before you left? I'm kidding.
Wipe the mic off.
Both mics.
We don't have anybody sitting there anymore anyway, so that's, Josh will take care of, oh, yeah, you are, but you're gonna be up last. Yes. It won't be long, Donna.
We don't get to see you hardly at all.
The next budget is finance on page 55.
It's the only time they let me into City Hall now.
I have to get a rear view mirror if I'm gonna sit up here. Yeah, they sneak up on me.
Don't worry, I'll yell duck.
I'll yield to Josh on this.
I can just take any questions that you might have.
Alderman DeLucia.
Good to see you, Josh, and I like the tie. I know Alderman Nash made fun of it, but
I didn't make fun of it, I said he was protected.
So a similar question that I just asked, Bridget. Could your department absorb the payroll needs of the Board of Education as it exists right now?
With my current level of staffing, I would need 2 more full-time equivalent people in order to do it. That's my assumption, that 2 full-time equivalent people could, between accounts payable and payroll, all cross-trained. I think that would be deep enough to handle their activity as well as ours.
Okay, so to follow up on that, and Alderwoman Gould articulated this so well at the one ad hoc committee. Why did we spend $675,000? Or borrow, actually, we didn't even spend, we borrowed, right? So we spent more than that. If we are just hiring additional people. I thought it was supposed to, over time, reduce the number of FTEs in the central office.
Right, I believe they have reduced 1 or 2 full-time equivalents. When I presented the bond ordinance for your consideration, I had assumed that we would be able to, through attrition, lose 3 FTEs by 2023. And I think we're at the 1 to 2 FTE mark right now. By losing 3 positions through attrition by 2023, the project more than pays for itself.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Alderwoman Gould?
Well, I'm going to follow up on that. The Board of Education is spending $85,000 a year now because they say they need a human resources director. So we spent $675 plus. Is the city doing their payroll or no?
We are not doing, their payroll is done in the same software, but our department is not doing their payroll.
Okay, so what is your department doing for the Board of Education presently that they were not doing before? Is there anything?
No, not really, no. I mean, we're on the same platform, which creates efficiencies, but we're not performing school accounting functions.
Okay, so the 675 was just to get them really on the same platform? That was the only reason for getting this, spending this money?
I was hopeful that it could go beyond that, but that's...
And it hasn't because?
I'll answer that.
I will, if you don't.
We were prepared to take over the payroll responsibilities, and the Board of Ed decided to go a different way, so, and be within their house. Trying to answer this delicately.
I appreciate your,
Tactfulness?
thank you, I was going to pick a different
just-
word, but thank you for giving me that one.
I wouldn't have said it that way.
Well, I'm with Mark.
The bottom line is, we could have seen $150,000 savings on the Board of Ed side and the $50,000 savings on the city side, but they, again, decided to stay in-house, and so those savings were not realized this year, not 3 years from now or 2 years from now. They could have been realized right now, and they turned it down.
Yeah, those were the savings I projected.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Alderman Wilson.
Well, and just kind of piggybacking off of what you've said, Mayor, is, when you look at just the 2 positions alone, and I think for me it was highlighting this, the overall cost with salary and benefits, you're talking $206,000 for the 2 positions between payroll and HR on the Board of Ed side. And that's a huge amount of money when we could have had a savings to take care of many of those functions. And I think when we're talking, I think it's been the message across the board since the proposal of this budget is taking into consideration the coronavirus impact. Savings is important, and for those to be kind of not in the forefront right now, I take issue kind of with that.
I think it's more that they were rejected out of hand. Damn the virus.
Alderman Nash.
I don't know if this is the place that's discussed this, but I just want to ask. I've been sitting up here for a while, and I feel like it's my first year again, all over again. I thought we all agreed that we were going to go on one payroll system, we were going to use one human resource person, we were going to combine certain departments, we were going to bring things into the fold to save money, and here we are sitting here saying, well, that's not what we're doing. So I don't know, maybe I'm sitting up here and I literally aren't paying attention to anything going on, and I don't know what's happening, but I swear we sat here saying we were going to have one payroll and one HR, and now we're sitting here with $200 and something thousand worth of increases on stuff we said, and I'm not saying we because some of you weren't on the council at the time, but I sat here and I remember all the excitement about going to a single platform, going to be more transparent, going to go to one HR to save money and stuff like that. And here we are turning around, just, spending it out. And I don't think it has anything to do with a virus. This is something that's just been, it's ridiculous. And I don't know if this is the place to talk about it or not. Maybe we have to have another meeting for it. But I'm just concerned that we had a payroll that we were supposed to go one payroll and we were going to go one HR, and now we're not doing that. And this is ridiculous.
Well, I don't think it's on our side.
No, I'm not. I'm saying I feel like it's my first year up here and I don't know what I'm doing.
We were ready to
You
take
know what
over
you're doing.
payroll. We had a plan, and the mayor has correctly mentioned the savings. It would have been about 150 on the board side and 50 on ours. So it was about a $200,000 savings. We were ready to do that. And
I know in the big scheme, it's not a big savings with a $92 million budget.
$200,000 is a big savings.
It's huge
because
after a while, it adds up.
it gets a payback of the investment on the computer system in 3 years.
Right.
So that's a good payback in 3
Right,
years.
so we're not going to be getting that payback.
Not on that.
No.
Unless they go through attrition again.
Yeah, but even through attrition, I don't think anybody's getting $100,000 a year.
was in December.
And if they are, I'd like to apply for that job.
I'm not comfortable criticizing
I understand.
the other side.
Thank you for
No,
being
I'm not, and I don't mean to
tactful.
criticize them either, because I wasn't here for that presentation, and I apologize to my
Yeah.
fellow council.
No, you're right, and I can't make it any clearer that we were prepared to take over the payroll, and it didn't go in that direction.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mayor, I'm sorry to get.
No, I'm enjoying the back and forth. President Pro Tem Mark Betancourt.
I mean, obviously, this kind of sticks in my craw, too. I mean, because part of the reason I came back here, I think, is because we really, truly wanted to try to look for efficiencies, in government. And I think part of the problem is we're too siloed. Everything from, public safety to education to NPU and stuff. We have these different silos that have their own, way of doing business. But it isn't the most efficient way of doing business. And we need to really, buckle down and try to do that. Now, that means that maybe on the city side, we could give up some autonomy, maybe to NPU, I think, for IT and things like that. That might make sense. For organizational structure in public safety is something that should be taken a look at. The whole, what we're seeing now, though, it sounds like maybe on the Board of Ed side, maybe there was a lack of communication between, especially with the transition in management. There's a lot on the table there, so something got missed. But
there were lots of meetings that they had a
so you
tremendous amount of
communicated, you
input.
had these communications with the new superintendent.
Yes, and the staff had to work very hard to get the payroll up and running, both sides. So they had a lot of communication. Ultimately, we were informed that they moved in a different direction. We were ready to do it.
This is what I can't get.
I'm not in charge of Board of Ed. I can't
Right,
tell them
exactly.
what to
No,
do,
I know. The problem with this whole thing is it takes two or three, so to speak, to, I don't know, to tango. So I was going with the wrong metaphor here. But if there's three, but this is the struggle that I think that we have as a group sitting up here, and that we've had over the years, trying to do these things, and it's not just three. There's multiple players involved. It's like a chessboard, for crying out loud. So
we're ready to do it,
Yeah.
and I'm a firm believer in consolidation. I do have some good news, though. I did receive, and I think you got a copy of it today. I guess the window is open again on the building maintenance
Custodial.
supervisor.
Oh, yes.
Apparently,
didn't
they
fill
did
it.
not hire that person
Nope.
because of the virus, because they were closing the schools down and generally didn't need a supervisor. So so rapidly. So we really have till a minimum May 20th, when schools might open again, to take another look at that. And we've started already on looking at the building, combining building maintenance departments. We started today. As soon as I got that email, we're going to look at it very closely. And there's a micro approach to it on consolidation of the building maintenance, and there's a macro when you really combine the two workforces. That's where the real savings will be. We could get some small savings, not have one supervisor. That's, 80 plus thousand savings. But if we find that that we have 45 maintenance people on staff between the two, maybe we could do it with 38 or something like that. That's where you get the savings. That's what will take some time to take a look at that. But we're committed to do that by May 20th. And the good news is that you still haven't set the budget yet, so they can take that into account and possibly when you look at the board budget. So,
Yeah,
but I agree, and I didn't want to interrupt. I'm sorry, but I just want to say one thing. I think that this should probably, the conversation about the payroll should be board to board.
Correct.
Because
That's what I was just going.
and that's probably an appropriate thing for the budget.
Right, the ad hoc.
Ad hoc budget committee, because that really is at the policy level. And
Joe, I'm sorry, it's just a question for you, Joe, is the 10 questions.
Yes.
Was that, I can't remember if that was needled down on that one regarding those positions, the payroll situation and stuff. You didn't have anything in there on
Yes,
that.
those questions were asked, those were two of the questions.
All right.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
So I'm certainly open to more consolidation if an opportunity arises.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Yes, Alderman Wilson.
Last question from me. I know when we had Betsy up here, she talked about the struggle with the sharing of the clerk between, I believe it's your office?
Yep, yeah, the tax office, yep.
What is your take on it as far as what is the true struggle on your end for your department with the share?
I think they work it out. If one side needs additional hours above what the schedule they mapped out, they move it around. I mean, it's not perfect, but I don't know that it would be worth spending money on another full-time employee to just for a few peaks and valleys.
Yeah, I think it works well. Obviously, everybody would like to have their own person to train, but this person has been repetitively in that department, so that person has received the training in city clerk, and that was actually a very significant give back by the union, because the union before that was against cross-training because they fear that it will be a reduction in personnel, and their goal, which is understandable, is to preserve personnel. So cross-training can allow you to consolidate on that. So we think it works well. It's not perfect. They're very good. They work very well together. The city clerk and the tax collector, they work it out pretty well.
Thank you. The other thing is, it's kind of an advantage for the employee because they're learning two different offices. So they learn even more about government functions, and if a job opening arises, they have, that's a more opportunity for them.
And I just wanted to, allow you the opportunity, just as she had, to explain those pieces, and also for the public to understand what goes into the sharing of an employee and all those things. So thank you.
Yep, welcome.
Thank you. Other questions? I see none. Thank you very much. Next.
Thank you. Treasurer, page 60. The treasurer's not here tonight, so we'll answer any questions.
So can we cut his salary then? You didn't show? No, I'm just kidding.
She's watching.
It's okay, Mike.
Mike and I had our wires crossed about this, so I called him and I said, if there's anything I can't answer, I'll tell him that we'll get back to you.
With
I'll
3
s-
employees, they did a very good job,
yeah.
and we're very pleased with the treasury function.
Yeah, up until the downturn in the economy due to COVID, if you followed and tracked the investment cycle, since Mike's been treasurer, it has been a much stronger track record since he got here, and realizing real dollars, 1 year over $1 million in additional interest. I mean, that's something to celebrate. When they lower the rates at the federal level to almost zero, there's not a lot you can do. But he understands the business. He's done very well for us.
Yeah, if anybody can squeeze the money out of where we are now, it'll be Mike. It's difficult because not only the interest rates are lower, but our fund balance is lower. So that's that's the reserve cash that you could keep on investing.
That's correct.
So you have less of that, therefore you have less yield.
Yep.
And it's about $4 or $5 million less on a yearly basis. That's a significant amount of investment income that's not there anymore.
Yep. Yes, sorry.
And just to make one more comment, the great thing about talking about Mike or talking with Mike is that you very quickly understand that he is very proactive and not just reactive. He knows what's coming down the road. He's done the research and he's already planning ahead. And I know he interacts with Josh quite often, and they're on top of all of this stuff. And we talk about highest and best use. We're talking now. In this case, we're talking about an individual that is definitely giving us the highest and best use for the position he holds.
I agree.
I agree.
Okay, thank you.
Donna, assessor's assessment is on page 58. I'll just make a couple of brief comments. Over the last few years, I think we've right-sized the department. We added an additional employee in fiscal 17-18, and then extended that employee to full-time a couple of years ago. The department has had changes in personnel, and the promotions and changes have been smoothly integrated into the department, and I think it's running as well now as ever. And other than that, it's a status quo budget, as you can see from the previous years. And I'll defer to Donna for any other comments you might have.
Well, I must have been a very bad girl when I grew up, because I finally get my 4th employee after all these years. I have a full staff for 4 months, and then everything goes to hell. And now I'm the only one in the office. I have my assistant working from home, and my 2 new employees can't start. So, we're doing a little what we can. Any questions? I think that's probably one of the reasons why my budget is a little lower too, because my assistant assessor retired after 27 years. And so my assessment analyst applied and got her position, so he's now my assistant assessor. And then the 2 new employees would start on the first step, if they ever get to start. So.
Questions, members?
It's
Pro
more
Tem
of
Mark
a,
Bencourt.
yeah, this is more of a performance thing. I know you've been, proactive, certainly, you read about in the paper sometimes, and not everyone's happy about that, but I'm just wondering how that effort was going. I'm sure it's scaled back right now, but.
Yeah, it's a little scary to think how it's going to be this year, because there may not be as many businesses open.
Right.
Around October 1st. We're just going to have to tiptoe around it. We're still going to do our building permit inspections as best we can. But other than that, we're just working in the office. We're trying to keep a hold on we have quite a few court cases because of the evaluation. And so we've been reviewing them and being extremely careful with any kind of negotiations that we're making. Actually trying to make, we have over 60 applications to the Board of Assessment Appeals. And because I'm their acting secretary, because they don't have one, I was very strict and I did not let anybody have an appointment that didn't have the information attached to their application. And it says right on there, you must attach it. So I have a few attorneys in town that are not too happy. But I mean, that's the only way you teach them how to do it. It's not fair that they come to the board and bring their information at the time because the board doesn't have time to review it. So we're going from there, but we do have like, I don't know, 45 court cases that are totally on hold because the courts aren't open. But we're taking this time to review all those files in depth, and if we need more information, we're asking for it.
If I may, there's one irony here with the whole impact of the virus on the fiscal status of the city. We always felt that, and I felt it too, that we had an over-reliance on the property tax. We have very little diversification other than state grants. The property tax is the big driver of our income. One of the good things about the property tax is property doesn't go anywhere. It may get deteriorated and whatever, personal property can come and go, but property stays there. So there is more of a stability within governments that have property tax as their total basis. And if there's anything, that's something that we should think about and actually be grateful now.
I think my only fear is that during this period that's so crazy, it's harder for people to come in to get building permits.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid that with all the people that are home, they're all going to do their building improvements anyway.
Without the permit.
And so it's going to be very difficult for us to find them unless they sell the property and list it and we can see what they did. That's the only thing I fear in all this is that the building permit activity is going to be reduced. And that's the only way we can increase the grand list, other than new construction altogether, you know.
The building department has instituted virtual inspections. They'll do exterior, they can do that pretty much now, but going inside, they're not. So they're setting up and instituting some new software for virtual inspections. Are you included in those discussions?
No, I haven't been.
It should be.
However, I just had a real estate appraisal done on my own condominium in Mystic, and the appraiser called me, asked me all kinds of questions about whether I had been ill or anything. And then she said to me, I need to come in your house. And I said, okay. She said, I need you to keep all of the doors open, and I need you to step out of the house when I go in.
Oh, that's not.
And so that's exactly what happened. And she was only in there for a few minutes, but she got to see what she needed to see. And so I think that might be something we might institute. It'll take a little longer because you have to call people and make the appointments, which we never had to do before. But I think it'll work. And there's a lot of them we can just do the drive-bys. The exterior.
Right.
But any interior renovation, we'll have to make the appointments to see those.
But Deanna's office is already instituting that, so I would recommend you guys have a chat.
When they do they don't have to give out certificate of occupancy.
No, I understand, but
As much as they used to.
right.
There's an awful lot of things that they don't even need to give building permits for anymore.
That's correct.
That increase the value of a property.
Yeah.
So there's more things we need to see than they do. But yeah, I mean, I'll definitely talk with them. It's been crazy the last month, just trying to get used to all this. We had to re-notify all the elderly that hadn't applied for the elderly program that the governor said they don't have to come in. And so all those letters went out yesterday. And now we just got the new governor's report on how to deal with the Board of Assessment Appeal. That's 42 applications that we need to try to work with and try to get them resolved, because they have to have their avenue of appeal. And I haven't even talked to John about that yet. Trying to finish out, these letters to the elderly, because they are very concerned. So now they have a letter that says they don't have to come in. I put it in there twice, so that they could say, you don't have to come in, and at the end I said, you don't have to come in. So, yes.
Yes, Alderman Ness.
I just have one concern, and again, maybe this is not the place to discuss it, but when we start asking people to step out of their homes so we can go in and inspect stuff, I just hope that that these individuals have the opportunity to be able to verify that this is what is happening and that there's not a scam going on, because as a former police officer, Joe, we know that there was a paving company that was doing a lot of that, where they were come outside and see the work, meanwhile someone's in the back door cleaning out the jewelry box. So I just want to make sure that if we're going to do this for our citizens and ask them to step outside, that they can verify that this is what's happening and they feel comfortable doing that. So that's just wanted to throw that out.
Thank you. Oh, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, we'll have to watch that closely.
Yes, Alderman DeLucia.
I have a couple of questions. Just the first one is, are you aware of anybody who has applied for the Gold Star family tax assessment?
I have one.
Relief, I guess we call it. One. Oh, good. That's good to hear that through that tragedy we provided something that would help the family out.
Exactly.
Yep.
It was quite an ordeal to get it going, because the way the statute was written was crazy, because it involves the state clerk's office, and they have to verify. We got it done.
Right.
It'll be fine.
My second question, these are operational questions specific to the Board of Assessment Appeals, and none of these questions are loaded, it's just for my own curiosity. So the increased rigidity or strictness about the packets being complete with the evidence prior to the person's appointment or for their meeting or their appeal hearing, I guess is really what it is, right? Was that new with this round?
This year, yes.
And I heard what you said, that statement that would be required was on the form.
It is on the form now, and it has been for the last 2 years.
That's what I thought. But my first question is, if somebody showed up and did not, and their packet was incomplete and showed up for their appointment, right, and were turned away, were they given the opportunity for another appointment?
They were not given an appointment. So they couldn't have shown up.
Okay, so,
They were just not given an appointment.
and then they were notified of that they were,
Yes.
and then could they complete their packet and be given an appointment?
One did, and they were not given an appointment because the COVID virus had happened by then.
Yeah, that's right. That's a whole nother set of circumstances. And I have no problem with the fact that the packet has to be complete so that the board members can review before the appointment comes in, before the hearing actually happens. I'm totally okay with that. It's that I just think if we're going to escalate a rule, right, that it can't be like forgive the analogy, but a guillotine, right? Where you didn't follow the instructions on the form, so no soup for you for a year. See you next fiscal year, right? My last question on that: of the people who were not given an appointment.
Excuse me, I got to tell you that we are not that strict, to be honest with you. I mean, but when it's a commercial property and they don't provide the information that they need, that is extremely important for the board. Because the commercial properties, if they're not over $1 million, are very confusing, and they need to provide them with something.
No argument whatsoever. Yep.
No big deal, but
Yep. Completely agree. And the fact that you said that there was a little bit of leniency and wiggle room in there, that makes me happy to hear. Because I, understand the board has a statutory job to do, and you have statutory regulations that you have to follow, and it's all about the property tax, which makes the wheels keep going, right? However, it's, we're still talking about our taxpayers, and they're really our customers, right? My last question is this. How many, if any, of those people who were not given an appointment are now court cases?
No,
Okay, all
no,
right,
That's not how it works.
okay, perfect.
although they have until the 20th.
You have to be denied,
Not-
then seek a remedy in
Right,
court.
okay.
So if you're not given a case
Yeah.
to appeal,
Right.
you can't go to court.
No, I don't think you can either. If you don't go to the board, you can't go. You can go to court, but it would be under a different section in the
Yeah,
statute. It would be
that's
under
right.
12119, which is much harder to prove. If they go to the board and then go to court, it's under 117.
That's right.
And slightly different process, or
Well-
slightly different set of standards?
Definitely.
Okay.
119 is very difficult to
All right,
prove.
all right.
117. And the courts now, since Judge Levine, who was there forever, who just encouraged everyone to settle, now it's a new tax court up there, and they don't even require the people who are against us, who are challenging our value, to produce an appraisal, which is extremely unfair. We had to pay to have the revaluation done, and now they don't have to pay to have an appraisal done to prove their case. I've only had one so far, and it got all postponed because of the coronavirus, so it's really interesting to see what happens.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you all very much. We're minutes away from the public hearing, like literally 1.5. Thank you very much. Drive safe.
I'm taking 1.5.
Thanks, Donna.
Roll call attendance?
Call attendance.
Roll call attendance?
Yes, thank you. Good evening. We're going to take a roll call attendance at this time. Beginning to my left.
Alderman Joseph DeLucia, present.
Alderman Wilson?
Alderman Wilson, present.
Alderman Nash?
Alderman Nash, present.
Alderwoman Gould?
Present.
Alderwoman Miles?
Present.
It works. Nice.
President Pro Tem Betancourt?
I'm here, present.
Mayor Nystrom?
Present.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll begin our public hearing on the fiscal budget this year presented by our City Manager John Solomon. And we, I believe, have our first caller online. I ask everyone who's planning on joining us tonight to please state your name and address for the public record. You will have 3 minutes.
Hello? I know. Forget it.
Go ahead.
You are the last party in the conference. You will hear silence until the conference begins.
Who's up?
Is there a caller there, please? If so, begin. She hung up. Okay, we would like to welcome the next caller. Please call in, and we'd like to hear from your concerns and comments on this year's proposed budget. Again, state your name and address. You will have 3 minutes.
Are we having any technical difficulties? No.
No? Everything is operating.
This call is being recorded.
Please begin.
State your name and address.
Joanne Philbrick, Elm Avenue, Norwich, Connecticut.
Good evening.
Good evening. I was hoping that this would be a seamless transition, but this is probably one of the most colossal failures I have ever seen in the city of Norwich. I don't know where to begin. First of all, I'll start. Again, here we have the feedback like we did the last time. So I will hesitate between each word so that we have a chance to catch up. Let me start by saying that over the last week, I have tried to access the budget on the city's webpage. An email to the city manager went unanswered. Today I called to follow up on my own, and although suggestions and directions were made by both the city manager and the comptroller, it took me no less than 15 different, I don't even want to call them keystrokes, 15 different attempts to actually reach the budget. This may be why you do not have any callers this evening. People get frustrated, annoyed, and just give up. I am tenacious. I have sat on both sides of the velvet rope, so I like to feel that I have somewhat of an inkling of what goes on in the city of Norwich. The budget as proposed is unattainable and unsustainable, in my opinion. To hear people talk about the unions not liking this or not liking that is offensive to me.
Thank you,
The unions do not run the city of Norwich.
Mrs. Philbrick, would you please summarize?
And it's time for someone
Mrs. Philbrick,
to
please
take the
summarize.
leadership role. My summary is that I am extremely disappointed in the majority of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You are the last party in the conference. You will hear silence until the conference begins.
Just as a precaution, if you're calling in and your TV is on, please mute the sound level of your television, and that will avoid any additional background noise. The phone line is open.
Excuse me, Mayor. Is it possible that you announce again the number to call, just for people that are home that may not have it readily available?
While we are waiting, again, the number to call in is 860-215-8140. And then when prompted, enter the conference ID 403-8191, followed by the pound key. Thank you.
This call is being recorded. You are the last party in the conference. You will hear silence until the conference begins.
Hello? I didn't hear a voice. Oh, to begin? Oh, they didn't do that the other night. The phone lines are open.
This call is being recorded.
Please begin.
Caller, state your name and address, please.
Hello, caller.
Go ahead.
Hi, Jeff Blinderman, 35 Greenwich Court, Norwich.
Go ahead.
The chairman of the Norwich Rec Advisory Board. Good evening. Calling to advocate for a full-time position for the rec department for an office/program assistant. They're a growing department. This person can answer the phone, process paperwork, register the participants, send out sponsorship letters, enter payments, and things of that nature. This lets Cheryl and Rob organize and run the programs and assist with the growth and development on the rec advisory, on the Norwich Recreation Department, which has grown tremendously in the past couple of years and is really something great for the city of Norwich and its constituents. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You are the last party in the conference. You will hear silence until the conference begins.
The line is open. If you're considering calling in, again, the number is 860-215-8140, and when prompted, enter the conference ID 403-8191, followed by the pound key. Thank you. The public hearing comment period is still open. If you would wish to call in, the number is 860-215-8140. And again, when prompted, enter the conference ID 403-8191, followed by the pound key. Again, the phone call, the number to call us is 860-215-8140, and then when prompted, enter the conference ID 403-8191, followed by the pound key. Thank you. Our third request. To call in, please dial number 860-215-8140. And again, when prompted, enter the conference ID 403-8191, followed by the pound key. It is customary for us to ask 3 successive times if anyone would like to address the council on the city's budget. I'm going to begin that process. Would anyone like to address the council and speak to us by calling the number 860-215-8140, and when prompted, enter the conference ID 403-8191, followed by the pound key. A second time. Again, the number to call in is 860-215-8140, and when prompted, enter the conference ID 403-8191, followed by the pound key. This is our third and final request. Please dial in at 860-215-8140, and when prompted, enter conference ID 403-8191, followed by the pound key.
Hello.
Good evening, sir. Please go ahead.
Please state your name and address.
John Blackburn, 15 Alice Street. I've had trouble getting into this thing. For one thing, with this pandemic, it's an awful situation. And all I was going to call on was the Board of Education thing. I think you well know that the buses are not running. And I heard that they pay that by the day for the buses to run for the schools. So I think the Board of Education, at the end of this year, should owe the city some money, and it should go back to the general fund. Other than that, I'll just subtract it from next year's budget.
Thank you, sir.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you for calling.
You are the last party in the conference.
Hello, is someone there? The line is open. Again, the number to call in is 860-215-8140 and enter the conference ID 403.
This call is being recorded.
Please go ahead.
Please state your name and address. Hello?
Hello?
Please state your name and address.
Hello?
Good evening.
State your name and address.
Valerie Gambrell, 73 Allen Avenue.
The call is yours. Please go forward.
Hello?
Go ahead and speak, and please turn your TV
Um,
down.
the concern that I have, that I've been reading in the paper, as you know, this is part of the Consolidated Fire Station District, and I have to voice strongly opposed to the fact that the few people in this consolidated district is carrying that whole fire station. My mill rate is out the roof. And I don't think that's fair because everyone has access to use that fire station. There's a fire, and it's a big fire, they're gone. They're going to go, and they're going to do what they need to do. I'm paying for that. And those people that are getting the benefit from that, they don't pay. So you continue to raise our mill rate. It's already higher than everybody else's, and now you want to add to it. You're making it so that, especially senior citizens like myself, will not be able to live or survive in Norwich. We will have to leave. And if that's what the plan is, then it's going to work, because we cannot keep funding this on our own. It's not fair, and it's not right.
Thank you. You still have additional time if you wish.
I can't understand you or what you're saying.
You have an additional 2 minutes if you'd like to continue speaking.
Yes. What's the plan? What do you guys plan to do? How do you plan to make this fair for everyone? You know, granted, I know we have all these volunteer firemen, and I know that they're very influential. But for us that are putting this bill, we cannot continue to do this. You keep piling stuff on and on and on our backs. I don't mind paying my fair share, but I think everybody should pay their fair share, not just us. We can't do this. I read, you're not going to give anybody else any more mill rate, but you're going to, so what? It's 0.31 or whatever it is. That's still a lot combined to what we already have. I love Norwich. I was born here. I was raised here. But I don't want to have to leave. But I'm not going to be able to afford this if you keep doing this. You need to figure out how to make it fair for everybody. That's all I'm asking. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much for sharing with us. The phone lines are still open. The number is 860-215-8140.
Speak at the mic more. That's it.
The ID number is 403-8191, followed by the pound key. Our phone lines are still open. The number is 860-215-8140.
This call is being recorded.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Sure. My name is Rose Bertoni, 67 North B Street, Tafel, Connecticut. What I want to first bring up is I have this on TV in front of me, and, you know, there are so many numbers you're asking us to dial, and also then to put in the, for the conference call. Why wasn't it an easel or something put out in front of you or something so the number could have been posted there? I think you would have received a lot more phone calls. And, you know, it's kind of hard to remember this. I mean, with all the numbers you're putting in, that I think this would have been very much had more input with that. And also, the advertisement of this meeting was not well known. So I think in the future, I think it needs to be, especially if we are calling from home because of the situation that's going on, that I think you need to have it more accessible, that this is, like I say, put numbers in front there, so they're right there in big writing that we can all read and then call into. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You are the last party in the conference. You will be silent until the conference begins.
Must be figuring it out.
Phone line is open.
Maybe people were shy until they saw it work.
Is anyone there? No? All right.
Okay.
On the peanut gallery.
She bought Mrs. Delia's house. 67 South 4th. That was
Because she was on the other side.
Mary Jane Delia.
Yeah.
She,
Well, I know her. It's really, you like something. I know, yeah. I think, did you know? Because she was on the other side of the village before.
Why don't you go real slow this time with the number? Real slow.
Our phone lines are still open. The telephone number to call in again is 860-215-8140. The conference ID is 403-8191, followed by the pound key. Going to request that if you're watching this program, we invite you to call in. The number is 860-215-8140. The conference ID number is 403-8191, followed by the pound key. A second request again, to please join us and share your concerns about this year's city budget. The number is 860-215-8140. Then enter the conference ID number 403-8191, followed by the pound key.
What's the best place for that?
Mike can put the camera either here or up there.
Mm.
I figure we'll have the screen next. Mike, can you look at the screen? Where's the best place for you? It's where the screen goes. Where the screen goes.
That's right, isn't it?
Yep.
Feel the love.
You can't see it, the glare is glaring on it. I think you won't be able to see it, but we'll check.
Hey, it's Ella. I want to let you guys know I'm looking at it here on the TV, and the numbers are hard to read.
Thank you, Ella. Okay. This is our third request
I'm all right.
to join us by calling in. The phone number is 860-215-8140. And when prompted, please enter the conference ID 403-8191, followed by the pound key. Seeing that there are no other callers, I want to thank everyone who did call in or who viewed this public hearing, this meeting on the budget for the year 2020, and I would ask for a motion to adjourn at this time.
Motion to adjourn. Stacy Alderman Gould.
A second, please.
Second, Alderman Wilson.
Thank you. There's a motion to adjourn by Alderwoman Gould and seconded by Alderman Wilson. All those in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
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 Aye. The records show that all members present voted in the affirmative to adjourn the meeting. Thank you.